What is going on, everyone? Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the history of Michigan. Let's get into it. Okay, so before we start talking about the state of Michigan, let's talk about where it gets its name from. So, the name Michigan actually comes from the French word for sea or ocean, and that's because when the French explorers came upon the Great Lakes, they thought they were actually in the ocean. They just thought the landmass was a little further than what they had anticipated. But other than that, they thought they were in the ocean. That's how we got the name Michigan. Now let's start talking about the actual history of Michigan. Michigan is one of the original 13 colonies that broke off from Britain and started the USA. It was one of those states. It joined the United States on January 26, 1837. And some of the early European exploration in the area can be traced back to 1615, when the French explorer Samuel Deschamps sailed into the Straits of Mackinac and claimed the entire region for France. The region at this time was inhabited by several different Native American tribes, including the Ojibwe, Ottawa, Potawatomi, and the Iroquois. Over the next century, the French would establish a number of trading posts in the area, including the first one at Ignis in 1673. But honestly, like all of these European countries, their whole thing was just getting resources from the natives and giving them trinkets that really didn't mean anything. You know, if the natives could even get something that they wanted. But yeah, the French had been here since 1600s. Then, during the American Revolutionary War, the British took control of the Great Lakes region. After the war, the United States acquired vast territories in the Northwest, including the area that would become Michigan. In 1805, the United States and Spain signed a treaty that ceded the entirety of Michigan and Florida to the U.S. Then in 1806, the U.S. organized this area into the Michigan Territory. Then, in 1835, Congress passed an ordinance that allowed the territory to draft a constitution and establish a government. And that's kind of when they got into the whole process of, becoming a state. And after meeting all the requirements set forth by Congress, Michigan was admitted to the Union as the 26th state on January 26, 1837. Now let's talk about some of the geography of Michigan. So Michigan is located in the Great Lakes region of the U.S. in the Eastern Time Zone. It is bordered by Wisconsin to the west, Indiana to the south, Ohio to the southeast, and Ontario, Canada to the north, across the St. Clair River and Lake Erie to the northeast. Michigan is also surrounded by 4 of the 5 Great Lakes: Superior, Michigan, Huron, and Erie. Yep. Michigan has more coastline than any other state in the U.S. except for Alaska. Let's talk about some of the cities in Michigan. So the biggest city in Michigan is Detroit, with a population of around 630,000 people. The other big cities are Grand Rapids, Sterling Heights, Warren, Ann Arbor, Lansing, Kalamazoo, Livonia, and Jackson. There are no national parks in Michigan, but there are many state parks, including the Porcupine Mountains Wilderness State Park, which is one of the largest state parks in the country. Alright, let's talk about the economy of Michigan. Michigan has a diverse economy that is driven largely by the automotive industry. Yeah, Michigan is known as the birthplace of the American automobile industry. In the early 1900s, Detroit became known as the Motor City because of the numerous car companies that were founded there. General Motors was founded in 1908 by William C. Durant. Ford Motor Company was founded in 1903 by Henry Ford, and Chrysler was founded in 1925 by Walter Chrysler. These 3 companies have been the backbone of Michigan's economy for decades. In addition to the automotive industry, Michigan also has a strong manufacturing base and is home to several major companies, including Kellogg Company, Ford, General Motors, Herman Miller, and Steelcase. In the late 20th century, Michigan began to diversify its economy away from manufacturing and towards service industries such as finance, insurance, real estate, and healthcare. This has helped to make Michigan less dependent on the automotive industry and more resilient to economic downturns. However, in recent years, Michigan has faced significant challenges related to the aging of its population and the decline of manufacturing jobs. The state has been working to address these challenges through investments in education, job training, and infrastructure. Hopefully, they can turn things around for the future. Alright, let's talk about some famous people that are from Michigan. So we all know that President Obama is from Hawaii, but most people don't know that he spent much of his childhood in Michigan. His mother was from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and she moved to Honolulu, Hawaii with him when he was very young. But then when he was 10 years old, she moved back to Michigan and he lived with his grandparents until he was a teenager. Another famous person from Michigan is Martha Stewart. She was born in Jersey City, New Jersey, but she grew up in a suburb of Detroit called Birmingham, Michigan. She went to high school there and then college at Northwestern University. She's pretty cool. And another famous person from Michigan is the rapper Big Sean. He was born in Santa Monica, California, but he grew up in Detroit, Michigan. He started rapping when he was just a teenager, and he was discovered by Kanye West when he was 14 years old. And then when he was 17, he was signed by ROC Nation. Another famous person from Michigan is the actor Tom Selleck. He was born in Detroit, Michigan, but he grew up in California. He was drafted into the Army in the late 1960s and served in the military for 2 years. After he was discharged, he moved to California and started acting. He got his big break in the 1980s when he was cast as Magnum P.I. He's still acting today. Another famous person from Michigan is the actress Jennifer Lawrence. She was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but she grew up in Indian Hills, Michigan. When she was 14 years old, she moved to New York City to pursue acting. She made her film debut in 2007 and has since starred in several successful films, including the Hunger Games series and Silver Linings Playbook. Alright, let's talk about some fun facts about Michigan. Did you know that Michigan is the only state in the US that has 2 state capitals? Lansing is the official capital, but Detroit serves as the capital for the courts. Fun fact, no 2. Michigan is home to the world's largest collection of public art. There are over 1,000 pieces of art throughout the state, including sculptures, paintings, and murals. Fun fact, no. 3. Michigan is one of the top producers of wind energy in the United States. Alright, that's all I got for this video. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of this video and if I missed anything that you think should have been included. Like and subscribe my channel and I will see you in the next video.